So then finally, number 8 and number 9, networking, existing contacts, and alumni. So contacts, number 8, alumni, number 9. You'd be surprised. Alumni associations are really trying to be active in helping their alumni get mid to high level positions. So if you haven't tapped your alumni, please do so. It's worth sending them a letter. President of the Alumni Association, Secretary of the Alumni Association, see what you can do, because oftentimes you'll get leads to where you want to be, especially if you went to school near where you're trying to get a position. So if you were at Dartmouth and you're looking to get a Kansas City position, not so much. But if you came from KU, K-State, MU, then this is a really good spot to find a Kansas City position. If you don't know who your alumni association is, you can Google that as well. Google is your best friend. Now let's talk about existing contacts very quickly. Existing contacts can be the people that you've worked with. It can be friends and family. It can be, of course, people that you have some association with of your church or synagogue. It can be your dentist, your doctor, your lawyer, your banker, your tax preparer. It can be so many people. But don't forget the people that you served when you were working in your past positions. So your customers, your clients, your vendors, your suppliers that you had relationships with. Let them know you're looking for a new challenge in XYZ industry as as a marketing manager, for instance. Okay? And let's see if there's any other questions. We've got about 7 or 8 minutes left, and let's see. And yeah, we actually do have a few questions. If you'd like to have a conversation with me about my services, I'll just give you this before we get into the Q&A. You can email me again. It's Tammy@beyondjobsearching.com, or you can call my office at 816-600-2478. I'd love to take a look at your resume and give you any tips on that. And if you want to talk with me about my services, I can give you all of the information, including the investments involved, up front before we talk. And I'm very upfront and transparent about all of that. So let's look at some questions. First, let me take any questions that we might have on the phone line. If anybody here, boy, we've got like Washington and Texas and, of course, Kansas and Missouri. If anybody on the phone line has any questions at all, just press *2 to raise your hand, and I would be very happy to coach you through a specific situation or answer any questions that you might have about getting into the hidden job market. Okay. Well, I'll look back on this if anybody has any questions in a moment. Let me go ahead and answer the questions that I see online. So let's see. We've got George from Renton, Washington. Hey, George. I've gotten advice from an expert here in Seattle to not blast out tons of resumes each week. His advice, send lots of requests for informational interviews. Okay. Well, do know, George, that I've got really strong opinions. Sounds like the person that you talked to has strong opinions. If you ask 8 different career professionals what their advice is on that, you're going to get 8 different opinions. And I will give you my reasoning for why I have my opinion. My opinions are based on the successes that I've seen from my clients, and maybe his opinions are based on what he's seen too. When I say blast out tons of resumes each week, I am not talking about a mass marketing. I'm not talking about most of the time when you think about a resume blast, a lot of executive search firms will use that term, but what they do is email and they do fax, and those are spam. And they're going to be treated like spam, and nobody's going to look at them. So when he says don't blast out tons of resumes, I totally agree with him if he's talking about a fax blast or an email blast, because those are very easy to throw away in the trash, very easy to delete, very easy. What I'm talking about is a very targeted search campaign. I do agree with him that informational interviews should be a key piece to looking for a position, because that's how you can expand your network. And networking is really important. And it might help you to know that in my search firm, we have a three-pronged approach. One is proactively contact companies that are growing. And like I said, Business Journal is a good piece of that. There are other places that you can find growing companies as well. Number two, proactively contacting the companies that would meet your search criteria. So this isn't a blast of hard copy mail. This is specific to what size company, what geographic location, what industry, and then the job title that you're looking for, and it would be sending it to the right person. In other words, it would be, George, the guy that would be your boss. It wouldn't be HR. It would be the guy that would have the decision-making authority for your position if you were to work there. So it's very specific. The third prong of that three-pronged approach is to network. And so requests for informational interviews, absolutely, that expands your network. If you don't have a lot of network, especially if you're going into a different industry or a different geographic location. So informational interviews do help you there. The best informational interviews you can have, whether it be in person or on the phone, are with centers of influence that I mentioned before. Those people that would know a lot of people that would have decision-making authority about the type of position that you'd be looking for. I hope that answers your question. And I'm not disagreeing with him. I think that he's got some good advice. You can't blast out everything. Absolutely. It needs to be very targeted. One more thing about that. What I do is give you've got a one-page resume. I'm a big fan of the one-page functional resume. But what I do for my clients is give them a separately formatted one with a 2.5-inch left margin. And on the left-hand side, they're handwriting a call to action with a deadline. They're saying, hi, George, congratulations on receiving $30 million in funding. I'd love to talk to you about joining your team. Please call me this week. Sincerely, Barbara. And that gets their attention. That's the personalization that keeps it from feeling like a blast. Hope that helps. And so now I'm going to talk with Barbara in San Francisco. Hi. Is there a resume workshop available for those of us who can't come to Kansas City for a live session? Oh, but good question. Right now, I go to San Francisco a couple of times a year to speak at a conference. But if you can't, I'm planning on taping at least audio, having audio for either this next one or the one after to record the entire 2-hour session. And so if you can't come, in fact, Barbara, if you want to send me your email address, I will send you the manual, and you can look through the manual, and then that will help you when I do post the 2-hour workshop. So please feel free to send me your email address. I would be very happy. And anybody, if you want to see that resume reboot manual that I give out to the participants of the workshop, please email me. Again, it's Tammy@beyondjobsearching.com. Thank you. And then there's Sandra in Dallas. How cool. What is the best way to use the Business Journal to find decision makers or identify growth companies? Well, decision makers, that's very good. Oftentimes, you're not going to find the right person in the article. In a Business Journal article, good news is always a press release, and that press release is coming from the company that it's being written about. And they will always, it's very formulaic, they will always have a quote from somebody. Sometimes it's the CEO. Sometimes it's a marketing communications person, but there will always be a quote from someone. And oftentimes it's not the right person. So that's a very good question in that you can go then to Google, I would say LinkedIn first, and then Google. There's actually about 4 or 5 different databases out there that you can look at, but LinkedIn is a really good start to try to find the right person to send it to. And again, use that advanced search feature in LinkedIn to where you're putting in the company name, you're putting in your zip code, and then with a radius of 50 miles, and then you'll find a list of everybody who is currently working with that company. And if it's a big list, if there's 300, then put the type of job title that would be your boss in the keywords section. Don't put it in the actual job title field because it's too limited, because you don't know. Like, for instance, once I was called the Director of Customer Experience. You don't know what people are going to be called. So go ahead and say, Director of Operations, or put in Operations and see what comes up for people, okay? Let's see. Let me take a look. Let me refresh and see if there's any. Okay. Carol Ann in Overland Park. I'm a 62-year young individual who has worked successfully in the private and public sector. Narrowing/branding has been most challenging. Please help. That gives me a little information, actually, Carol. I'd be happy to talk with you one-on-one about that. To work in the private and public sector, it means that you're able to be very flexible. And as far as your age goes, I'm a big proponent because most of my clients are over 50. They're about 50 to 64 is the average age of my clients, and most of them have a ton of really great experience. If you use a one-page functional resume, your branding is much easier because you don't have to list everywhere that you've been and everything that you've done back through 1979. You certainly don't want to list anything in the 70s. I recommend not listing anything in the 80s. But going back 10 or 12 years as far as making it, and I can send you a sample of what I'm talking about. Just email me. The type of resume I'm talking about really works well because it's a 30-second commercial of your entire career. And you can put things in that functional or skills-based resume that happened 15 years ago without having them buried on the second or third page of a chronological resume. So I would really recommend for you a functional. That's going to help you tremendously. If you want to talk with me further about it, by all means, you can give me a call. The number again is 816, and it's 600-2478. Any other questions? Because I know that we're at the top of the hour now. All right, and let me check one more time on all our callers. Nope, I think we're good. All right. Well, I really appreciate all of the questions. We got some good questions today, and I appreciate all of you who got on the line and are listening to this, and I will send the replay out later on this afternoon. Again, appreciate it, and we will talk next month, and I hope you have a wonderful month and a very, very successful and productive search. Take care. Thank you. Bye.